Good evening. Welcome to NUFC Matters. It is Monday night. It is semi-final eve. What a night. Yeah, exactly. It's like Christmas, isn't it? But yeah, welcome along to NUFC Matters. Start of a new week. We do the fans forum on a Monday night. Chocolate block tonight. We've got George in, Darren, Kevin, Alan, and Vince Lord Vader. Good to see all of you guys. And first of all, just want to pay tribute and dedicate tonight's episode to a former Newcastle player, Stuart Mitchell, former Newcastle goalkeeper. He was a native of Glasgow. He joined Newcastle United in 1953 from the Govan-based Benburb club, and he was an understudy to Ronnie Simpson, Brian Harvey, and to Dave Hollins. He made his senior debut for Newcastle United in a 3-3 at Preston North End in 1954. He went on to make 48 appearances for Newcastle United, the last of which was a 3-1 home defeat by Bury in April 1963. He did return to Scotland with 3rd Lanark as part of the Dave Hilly deal, but his transfer didn't go through until 8 months after Hilly's arrival. Stuart eventually moving to Cathkin Park in lieu of proceeds of a promised friendly against United that was never played. He was forced to quit the game in 65 due to injury, but he was at Ibrox to see Newcastle's 0-0 draw in the Fairs Cup 4 years later. He lived in the town of Hamilton following his retirement, and our thoughts with his family. Big thanks to NUFC.com for the write-up, but dedicating it to a former player who we lost today. George, you probably came across him, did you?
I actually knew Stuart. Yes, I knew Stuart, and played a couple of times in the B team in the combination when he was coming back from injury, and I was just a kid. He was a nice guy.
Great stuff. Now, George, I am looking across the panel, and I think I don't think I'm offending Alan here when I say that I think Alan was around and a fan of Newcastle when we were last in the semi-final, 76. Can you remember it, Alan?
Yes, I can.
Well, Alan, I'm going to move you up there. I'm going to ask George first, because I'm going to ask you two. I'm going to ask you two the questions. George, what was it like the last time in 76? And, what's the best course of action for Eddie Howe and the lads tomorrow night?
Oh, the best course of action tomorrow night is not to get tied up in the game. Just play your game and enjoy it for the players. And the current Newcastle team, if they enjoy themselves, then there'll be two of others stick in front of them. So I don't care who it is, Southampton, anybody else. And I'm looking forward to an attractive game. The worst thing that can happen is that the players get wrapped up in this historical thing that we haven't been there for before and all that tripe. Just enjoy it and you can make yourselves heroes or you can make yourselves clowns. Make yourselves heroes, lads. Just enjoy it.
And what was it like last time round, George? 76, of course. Newcastle took on Spurs in a two-legged semi-final. The format hasn't changed a great deal. What was it like last time round? What are your memories from that year? Because Newcastle went on to play in the final, of course.
Yeah, well, I've got to admit that there was some doubt on Tyneside about whether they could cope with Spurs because they were playing extremely well. But then, as I say, the team at that time just went out and enjoyed themselves. They played well above they'd been playing in the league to get through, and it just, I think Spurs got more caught up in the atmosphere and the idea that there was a final at the end of it than we did, and that played into our hands, and the lads took them to the cleaners at the finish. So it was great to be around. It was super, and of course, bear in mind, I was still reflecting on the club glories of the past with my family, and looking forward to something else because we hadn't been to a League Cup final. But as I say, it just struck me that the lads just enjoyed themselves and played their game and took Spurs on, and because everybody was a bit nervous of Spurs, but it didn't matter. It didn't matter. They just went on and played their game.
Alan, welcome back. Happy New Year. Regular on the Fans Forum. We've missed you over the last few weeks, mate. You must have had a bit of work on. I know you like to go onto these opposition podcasts as well. But before I ask you about where you've been and who you've been talking to, just want to know what was it like 76 round for you? 76 for you.
Well, George, I hate to say it, I'm a little bit younger than you, so I was only 12 at the time. Steve, going on 13. And if you remember, George, it was sports night on a Wednesday night, and I saw the highlights of the first leg.
It was
down at White Hart Lane. So I managed to stay up late watching it. The second leg, I didn't see it, Steve, because I wasn't there, even though there was 50-odd thousand in the crowd. But I listened on my radio. Them days, you didn't have live games on, Steve, lads. So it was a case of just listening on the radio, obviously over the moon, getting through the final that time. I saw more of the final, and I cursed Dennis Stewart when he scored that overhead kick. Absolutely cursed him, you know. And plus, to be fair, lads, of the 4 finals I've seen, that's the best we've actually played at Wembley of the 4 finals, because I can honestly say without doubt, the 1974 final is still 50 years on the worst one-sided final I've ever seen in my life. And it hurts to this day, 74 against Liverpool. I'm still crying over it. Absolutely still crying over it. I mean, you think the 98 and 99 finals were bad, but Liverpool's final was such a letdown, was untrue in my lifetime. But semi-final, like George says, don't get wrapped up in the occasion. Go for it and make your own bit of history. I just hope they play their best. League form goes out the window, lads, in these games. So forget about the Southampton being. They'll want to be going to Wembley just as much as us. So we've just got to take it on board and go for it and enjoy it. I'm super excited, but super nervous as well. So I'll let the rest of the panel get on, lads, because
my memory is, Alan, that Spurs at the time were being talked about as possible winning the league. And I got the distinct impression that they thought they just had to turn up and that would be it. And our lads just had to go. And that's what turned it over. And as regards the return leg and the 50-odd thousand, the crowd was very nervous. You can feel when the crowd's nervous. But once the team got on the pitch and started to have a go at Spurs, the nervousness disappeared and the crowd just picked them up. And as regards 74, well, we've got a shellacking off Liverpool. There's no doubt about that. But my next thing with Steve is to talk about that year. I mean, the build-up to that final was the worst build-up you'll ever hear about. Liverpool were going to give their players X £1,000 if they won. Newcastle United were going to give their players a match fee if they won. A match fee, for God's sake, if they won a final. Liverpool had nice grey suits with badges on. Newcastle had to rely on the 50-shilling tailor giving them black velvet suits to go to Wembley in, because the Newcastle wouldn't buy them even a bloody blazer. They couldn't even get a tracksuit. Liverpool had lovely red tracksuits. Well, you'll see it if you watch my podcast. The Newcastle team went out in purple tracksuit tops that Stan Seymour bought for a netball team. And he just had in his shop and he gave them to the lads to wear at Wembley. And they had to wear them. I mean, they look ridiculous. Well, when you see them, they just look ridiculous. Now, all of that and then go on to play a match at Wembley? Nah, by the time the Liverpool lads had crowed about getting 10 grand each and our lads were getting about 50 quid, oh, it didn't do much for your morale. So, you know, no mystery to me about why it was such a flop.
Yeah. Alan, just before I move on to Vince, you do go on to these other supporters podcasts from time to time. What's the feedback been from them on Newcastle's rise to the Champions League places and obviously progressing into the semi-finals?
Well, I mean, there's quite a lot of positivity about Were in the sense that the regard where defence has been superb. But like I say, a couple of weeks ago, I know the league title's out of the question now after the result there on Saturday. But there was a question later to the Man United fans, and are Newcastle title contenders, and they all just laughed. And I was just saying, I just hope we win on Saturday. Lads, that's why I was so disappointed, because if we had won on Saturday, I thought we'd still had a slight chance. But it would have kept them in their place. And on the other hand, they do regard with, they're all fearful of we going forward. They all realise we haven't even spent yet. And they realise that we're going to be a threat in the coming years. And I just say it to everybody, just be patient, because we've got to, we've got to crawl before we can walk, because the players that we're going to get in the future, the expenses, we've got to have the top 4 players to afford these players. And if we don't make it this year, we'll make it next year. I think, regarding, all the podcasts I've been on, there's a lot of envy still, Steve. There's a lot of envy still. But I'm lapping it up. I take it on the chin, and so I say, I'm loving the fact that Everton have a pop-up with on the Toffee TV every chance they have, and I'm loving it that they're second bottom. I want them relegated, and it's one team I want to beat down there, if any team at all, coming into the second part of the season. So all in all, the feedback is good in some respects, Steve. They really regard the organisation and how Eddie Howe has got organised, and a lot of them are now saying, I wish we'd got Eddie Howe instead of the manager they've got now. So the feedback in general has been pretty good. But like I say, you still get the brickbats about championship as well. I don't think that'll ever change, to be honest.
Philip Scott sharing his memories of 76. He says, I was 13 and at the match versus Spurs in 76, back of the Gallagher with me dad. Gowland scored and he disappeared 30 yards forward. His feet weren't on the ground.
Yeah.
Geordie Tumba Life, I know you were there or in that era. But Brendan Foster did win the race before the game, George, he says. I was there as a young lad.
That's right.
I cried all the way home. Vince, you're a nipper, a young'un. So this is all new territory to you, mate. What's your feel? What's your feel about being in the semi-finals, mate? It's good, isn't it? It's a good time to be a Newcastle fan.
Like I said, it's amazing. Like since the takeover, everything is just like I've took it on. Like says, I was struggling a bit at the time and all that, and I needed something positive to like get behind. And this, I've just been behind it all the way. Everything we've done, I just look at it as complete positivity. Just the way the players are fighting, battling, and everything. This, and then to be from where we were last year to now, third in the league. It's like it says, semi-cup final. It's like a dream. It's like it says, I'm awake after that 15-year nightmare. It's just unbelievable. It's amazing. I know, like says, we're overachieving. Like they're saying, like Man U fans saying, "Oh, we're not in a title race." Like says, if they're in a title race, we're in a title race. We're a point clear to them. Like says, and when they've got to, like says, they've got to come to us. Arsenal's got to come to us. We've got teams coming here. We're not going to give them an easy time either. Like says, so I mean, we'll probably I don't think we'll win the league. I think there probably is Arsenal's this year, but like says, we are with a shout with it. Like says, we'll keep going the way we're going, and all our dip has been is a couple of which I hope is a couple of 0-0 draws, and I hope that's what dip. We'll keep going, but it's amazing, and semi-final. I'm going to be battling it out tomorrow, General Sale, to try and get a ticket. But we'll see.
Yeah. Okay, Barry, you and I think, around about the same age, 50, 72. And, we were 4. We were probably eating Farley's rusks, running around in our baby clothes and we're jumpsuits and whatever, and not really being too interested in the football. I mean, my dad was black and white. He was at the final, but it's exciting, isn't it, for us? We've been to finals before. We've been to FA Cup finals. We've been to semi-finals of different competitions. We won the Japan Cup, as I remind everybody, in 1983, and we also won the Intertoto Cup. But yeah, this is different, Barry, isn't it?
I think that I think George sort of summed it up before as well. When we've gone to previous cup finals. I mean, obviously, with the Man U and the Arsenal game you're talking about, we never once thought we were really in with a chance. You were excited about going. You loved the idea that we were there, but you thought, we're going to get hammered. I mean, obviously, I don't remember the 74 or the 76 one particularly, but I remember my dad talking about the Liverpool game same as George saying they were abysmal, but the way the team had been treated was absolutely horrendous as well. So you can sort of see a little bit why the team reacted the way they did. And obviously, growing up as a young kid with an innate hatred of Dennis Stewart for no reason whatsoever that I understood at the time, but all down to his overhead kick in the 76 final. It's like, why do we hate this guy, Dad? Well, you just do, because he's I think it is, Steve. It's this. We've got the potential. You know, who's the worst we're going to get if we get past Southampton? It's Man United, isn't it? The other two. I don't fear Forest. Man United, could we turn them over at the minute? Well, yeah. I don't think we've got any problems whatsoever. I think Man United are all over the shop. As for the title, I think obviously what you've just been said there. I think Haaland, is going to drag City through it on his own. I think it's only a matter of time before Arsenal fluff it and Man City take over back in top place. So I would be more than happy with third or fourth place, Steve, and hopefully with a European place guaranteed from the cup final anyway.
Yeah, I would be as well, mate. I've got to be perfectly honest. But I mean, this is far surpassed what I was expecting. 100%. Northumberland Geordie says, if we get Champions League and Liverpool or Chelsea miss out, we stand a chance of getting the bigger players they would have been in for, as long as they don't want too much. And Philip, going back to 76, says, I was also at Wembley in 76. Similar surge when Gowland scored. Guy lost his glasses, bent down to find them, and surfaced with a different pair. And did he have a mural of Stewart goal at Etihad? Yes, David, we know that. It is awful. Kevin, semi-finals eve. It's exciting, isn't it, mate?
It is, mate. And I'm 10 years removed from that 74. I was born in 84, so I just thankfully missed out on it. So I was, obviously born in 84. I got the pleasure of going to those in the FA Cups and the Old Trafford days, being Sheffield United and Tottenham in consecutive years. So it was just magical for me to fall in love with the game as a young'un. And my dad, like George, used to chauffeur, like I said on yesterday's show. My dad drove us in a Vauxhall Sophia, just like he did with Mitch and all his mates. So again, it's just passing it on to my boy, who's 13 in a couple of days. So it's again passing that on as a expat, as a young Newcastle fan, and he's all excited about it. I'm not saying I'll not be able to watch the game with him, but yeah, it's quite emotional to sort of for us to say win a semi-final again, and excited about it, obviously nervous about it, but I think we'll turn Southampton over tomorrow. And and for me, it's making the dance. Semi-finals are the harder games to get through, especially a two-legger. It's even worse when you just play them in a one-out, like an FA Cup semi-finals, one and done. So that's a bigger pressure. This game, at least you've got a second chance if it all falls apart in the first game. But this game, these two games are, again, like I've said previously, are pivotal in terms of where we're going to head further down the road. Are we going to make our intentions known in this first game and not even worry about the next game without, within the break that we have. I don't know if that's a blessing or a curse, that's up for an opinion, but I think it'll be helpful for us to go down there, put on a performance, watch the highlights this morning from the last time we played them when we beat them 4-1, and let's do that again. And then we'll not have to worry about the whole, and it'll be create the party atmosphere to get it. You've already got one foot in the final at that point. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be see how Southampton set up, see what they're going to do, how they're going to approach the game. I think Eddie Howe, again, I heard his press conference today, and what I said yesterday was regarding performance was great. We controlled the whole game against Palace, but again, it was just them little final touches, and completely agree with what he's saying. And so I think he's expecting a lot more against the Southampton team tomorrow night, and I think he's going to push that narrative of quality in the final third, but again, take the emotion out of the game. It's just a normal game of football, and I completely agree with that, because unless you go down the Mikel Arteta road of jumping halfway across your technical area or even taking a throw in from Man United, it looked like he was going to take a throw in for Luke Shaw yesterday. I was like, it is what it is. But yeah, I'm an emotional person, and it's an emotional sport, as we all know. We all want to take throw-ins, kick, score a goal for everybody. But if if Eddie Howe controls his emotions, which I think he will, if he passes that on to the players, which I think he will, then I think we'll be have a happy ending tomorrow night and have a step in the final already.
John says, did Kevin's son just shout 14 in the background, or am I hearing things?
No, it could have been the missus, but it wasn't me. No, my son's at school at the minute. No, I don't know about that. Unless he's hearing things.
Gary says, if I'm not mistaken, did Newcastle have a flu epidemic before the final in '76? Alan's putting his thumb up, by the way.
Yeah.
I was only 9 years
They're
old.
right.
Yes.
They're right. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Ian says, I love the haters, and so does Eddie. It's us against the world environment, and this plus the great coaching is making us a force without spending that much. Imagine when we do spend a bit cash. Yep. No need to ask if you're excited, Darren.
I cannot wait for the model to be gone down there. Just go and play your own game, like George said. Cup game's a cup game. It's different to a league game. There, so it's going to be a hard game. We all know it is. We've got nothing to lose. Even if we get beat 1-0, not the end of the world. We've got them at home, two-legger. So we're just going. But Eddie Howe will tell them players, you can't play a normal game. They'll be drilled and all sorts, but we play how we know we can play. We can keep a win down there. I'm looking forward to tomorrow, but it will be a hard game. But I'm excited. I'm looking forward. I'm nervous at the same time, but it'll be good. I just hope we. I've beaten the Tottenham. I've beaten one semi-final in my lifetime. I was against Tottenham at Old Trafford. That was some experience. So get to the Wembley again, the new Wembley. Well, the Newcastle fan will be unbelievable. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
First time ever, Darren, as well. If we get Wembley in the new one, first time ever.
I've been down before, like in a corporate section for me mate, but that was hospitality that like. But I want to be able to with the fans. You know what I mean? You've got to be with the fans, sing your heart out and all that, and the build up. Like I can remember we're playing Man U and in the FA Cup semi-final, walking down Wembley Walk, sit down if you hate Man U. All the Man U fans were left standing, you know what I mean? It was great. Trafalgar Square, Newcastle fans just sing the heart out, you know. Like, it's some experience, like you say, for the full day. See if you would have been a FA Cup semi-final like Wembley before, you know what I mean? It's unbelievable.
Great. It is. I mean, I've got to be honest, this time round it'll be completely different. If we're lucky enough to get to the final again, then it will be different because I think on all Wembley appearances I've been completely intoxicated. And anybody who knows me now, when I go to away games, I don't really drink. So it'll be a completely new perspective for me. I want to soak in the atmosphere. I want to go down. I just want to enjoy it, you know. And especially if that's going to be our first, you know, if Dare to Dream, it's our first trophy since, you know, 55. Then, you know, and first one since 69 in total.
Have you got your hotel booked? I've got mine booked.
Yes. Yeah, the hotel was booked by John. John in a chat, he kindly booked a hotel for a few of us. So
I need a flight. Anybody going to chip in for a flight so I can jump over to London?
I think we might have to. I see everybody on YouTube setting up buy me a coffee. We might set up buy me a coffee to bring Kevin over for the match.
I'll do it. I've done the Milan in the sleeping in an airport when we drew 2-2 in the Milan in the Champions League. I've slept in airports. It doesn't matter to me as long as I get there. You know what I mean? But I'm just messing about, but yeah.
Well, yeah, good stuff, mate. Good stuff. We'll see. Well, keep our fingers crossed. As always, before the games, we usually have Toon Stato. I haven't been able to get him to submit, but I have. For those of you who are travelling down, got your usual input from Paul Scunny Mag, who will tell you what bars are in and around the ground. Here we go.
Hi guys, Scunny Mag Paul here with your away day guide for Southampton. Before we get into it, I've been having some difficulties getting the sound right. I think I may have cracked it. I've tried all sorts of things from different bits of hardware and that, and I'm just giving it a go on some new software, and touch wood, it should be all right now. If it's not, if you can't hear this, mention it in the chat. Otherwise, thanks for your patience. For those of you driving to the area, there is street parking around. There's a few paid car parks. They're quite small around the ground. There is a free car park about 15 minutes walk away. It's just to the south-east. It's over the bridge, over a river. But don't let that put you off. It's quite convenient. spaces are limited, and the locals tend to park nearer to the ground on free street parking bits that they know, so there's quite often spaces available there. For away-friendly pubs, the most popular one, the one that I've been in a couple of times down there, is the Yates's. It's, if you're staying in the city overnight, it's dead handy, and if you've gone in via train, it's on the way to the ground from the train station, so it becomes packed. They're set up for away days, and there's plenty of stuff on, and it's a great atmosphere. There's lots of singing and shouting. It's fantastic. You'll find that at Sierra Oscar 147 Foxtrot Hotel, or the what 3 words is Farm Rider Quit. Another option, if you're using some of the street parking to the northeast of the ground, you've got the Prince of Wales. That is Sierra Oscar 140 Quebec Foxtrot, and your what 3 words is Squad Stop Chew. There's another pub on the corner. You can see the ground out of the window, actually. It's really close. Yates's is always battered, but this never really seems to get busy, and it's right near the ground. There was plenty of stuff on when we were there for the game recently, and it was a good mix. Both supporters and the boards outside welcome away fans. The postcode for that is Sierra Oscar 145 Quebec November, and your what 3 words is Dogs Create Crew. And then when you head into the ground, the away end is on the northeast corner of the stadium. Your what 3 words for our turnstile area is Zealous Gums Rival. It's hoping for the win. Have a great day, and I'll speak to you soon.
I've got to say, since he got a little bit of stick for being boring from a few people in the chat, Scunny Mag has certainly livened things up with that blower, hasn't he? He really has. He's took it on the chin.
Unicorn?
And his sound was perfect. Well done, Paul. Enjoy the game tomorrow, mate, and thank you for your work. And don't forget to get his away days guide. It's a great book, and honestly, it's worth having in your glove box and or wherever, just in your bookshelf, whatever, just to refer to it before you go away. We do it on the show to give them a bit of publicity, but that book's like a little Bible when you go away, and it does help you massively. Okay,
I wish people would appreciate how much work that lad does to do that. I mean,
yeah, he does. He does. David, we're not confident at all about getting tickets. We're just all going because whatever happens, we're going to be in London. So, we've got our hotels booked, mate. We're going to go down. If we get tickets, we get tickets. If we don't, we don't. We'll be there. We'll be part of it. And we'll be all probably hungover after the game. But yeah, we're looking forward to it, mate, whatever happens. And that's the way it goes, mate. That's the way it goes. It's you want to be part of it, whatever happens. The big news today, George, was Lampard getting sacked. It was inevitable, wasn't it, really?
Only surprises that he lasted as long, to be honest. And I thought he would have been gone about 3 or 4 weeks ago. It has been a disastrous appointment for Everton, but it's been a disastrous appointment for Frank Lampard as well. I think if you were to ask him face to face quietly if he regrets taking that job, I'll bet he does, because it'll leave a mark on him that he'll take some shaking off. And I think Darren said that the best thing he can do is go and forget football for 12 months and come back refreshed, because he'll take some getting over that shellacking that he's had there.
Feels a bit like Lee Clark when he went to Birmingham. You know what I mean? He went to Birmingham, everything was great. A couple of weeks later, the guy's in jail who owns the club, and
that's
suddenly
right.
he's got a fire sale on his hands. So
yeah, and
the question from Blue Rhythm Boy says, who do you think the next manager is going to be, George?
Well,
Steve Bruce.
Please, God, Darren. Please,
Darren, I've already recommended them to Everton already on the podcast.
I'll drop them off.
We'll give Brucey a recommendation for that job. No bother.
George, you can drop him off. You can be the trophy.
Recommend him
Well,
highly.
he'll have a fucking pad. You never, anyone in pads. You'll do a great job. Well,
No, there all sort of talks about some Goodison. Hero coming back. I'm not sure
Duncan
who
Ferguson for me should have been the choice in the first place.
Yes, he should have been. He was doing it and starting to get away with it when they decided to change direction, and that's part of the reason they're in the mess they're in. So I don't know. It may be Duncan Ferguson, but
Sean Dyche's favourite.
Now that I could see that being a favourite for the directors who wanted to make it safe, what they call a safe pair of hands. But how boring! Sorry, but I wouldn't want to see him at Newcastle. How boring that would be. They're better off taking a real gamble with getting somebody that's a bit more exciting than that. And I would. I mean, the ex-Goodison heroes like Sharp and Royal, and none of them seem to be sticking their heads above the parapet. So. I don't know. I really don't know, Steve. That's the one I can't call at the moment. But Sean Dyche, it does look like a safe bet, safe pair of hands.
Alan, is Everton one of those podcasts that you go on? I mean, other names in the frame are Thomas Frank, Mark Marcelo Bielsa.
Funny enough, Steve, you took the words out of your mouth, and I've even offered him to talk to him actually if Conte goes, because Thomas Frank for me is a one to watch. I think he's a great manager. I really do. Personally, like I say, the lad that was funny off on Sky, Baz from Toffee TV, he was the lad that was giving us so much rubbish last year. I cringed every time he was on Sky only a couple of hours ago talking about Everton, because he was the lad that was giving us some crap last year when the beat were 1-0. And since then, I've wanted Everton down. I know he doesn't represent the whole Everton fan base, but Thomas Frank, for me, for Everton, he would be, a person that, but with the board backing, with it being so toxic down there, with the rules, the fair play rules that are cash-strapped. So Sean Dyche, like George says, is a safe bet for the directors. But if you are going to be forward-thinking, Thomas Frank for me.
Vince, what about this one? Billy Trey suggests Wayne Rooney.
Yeah, I heard them talking about it on the radio about it. I mean, at Derby, he's under difficult conditions, he did all right. He didn't do too bad, you know what I mean? So going there, he is like a local lad, and he's going to a difficult situation. So maybe could be the one, but I think Duncan Ferguson before, but like George said, Sean Dyche, that's it. He's gonna be, he'll keep them safe, and I think he'd get them playing, so at least defensively he'd sort them out, and it'd be like Burnley graft hard, so he'd probably be a safe bet, but Wayne Rooney could be an out shot,
he
Good
could be
call.
Barry.
Good call.
I mean, I had a daydream a couple of days ago when the rumours started about Lampard being under real pressure. I had visions of Potter getting sacked at Chelsea and then moving straight into Everton. So I had visions that it going the other way around, that Chelsea would have sacked their boss first, but obviously it hasn't worked out. I agree with you, Steve. I think it's Big Dunk would be the one for me. I think if anybody can turn the squad around and get them motivated, I think Ferguson would do it.
I think short term is like a step in until they can appoint somebody properly. I think that would be right. I'm not sure whether Harry's a toffee himself, but he says Ferguson's results were awful. That's why he didn't get the job. I've got to be honest. Maybe my mind is clouding it, but I thought he was doing okay, and then Lampard got the job. But I might be completely wrong. I just genuinely thought that Ferguson was okay. Plus, he's got the support of the fans, which at the moment you need somebody to be able to give the board, I guess, a bit of breathing space, Barry.
Yeah, maybe him plus somebody else, somebody with a bit more managerial knowledge, maybe him for the motivational side of it, because I think he would get them going. But like you say, who knows the way football is at the minute, and with their owners, they could end up with anybody.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Kevin. I mean, managers come and go. We know that. Lampard would have known that. It's I think probably the thing that sticks out the most about Lampard going is it's, of course, in the same season that Steven Gerrard went, and I mean, two midfield players who, they struggled to play together. They were often competing for the place in the England squad against each other. They were both lauded as, potentially the next best managers, to develop in the Premier League, and they've both failed miserably. It has to be said that Gerrard did do very well in Scotland, but potentially should have stayed there, really. With hindsight, I bet he wishes he had. But he wanted to test himself in the Premier League, and I guess if he'd done well at Villa, he would have been looking at the Liverpool job next. But it's just the way it's gone, isn't it? It's the way the cookies crumbled. They've both gone to two teams and failed.
Yeah, it's just the roll of the dice you take as a football manager. At the end of the day, you test yourself. That's what you want to do and compete at the highest level. The golden generation of English football, essentially. But obviously, when it comes to management, that hasn't played out as what they did on the football pitch. But I've seen on Twitter today from over here in the United States, there's a big story over here with Greg Berhalter, the US national team coach, who's having a bit of a fallout. So he might be a contender just to bring another American into the Premier League as a gaffer. But I think Wayne Rooney's just signed a brand new deal with DC United. He's come over here in the MLS. So that might be another financial constraint on Everton. I mean, it's a great shout, yes, but just coming from this side of the pond, hearing what you hear in the MLS, with the cap space, what they have and the money, what they got and things like that. But to be fair, great footballer, Frank Lampard, but just didn't like the way he coached. Just didn't like the way he played the game himself from the sideline. I just didn't like his personality. I didn't think he got the best out of players that he had from the money that was spent. Yes, Rafa was in before him, but at the same time, I just didn't like the way he played. I thought he was quite an arrogant coach on the sideline, to be honest. Just like, I'm Frank Lampard, I should win every game like I did at Chelsea and score a hat-trick every game or whatever it was. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one for Everton. I would not be as harsh as saying that I want them to go down, but you want them to go down, to be fair. You know what I mean? I'll not say that. I'll not say it as harshly. I'll say it more diplomatically than others, maybe. But
well, they've got two easy games, Kevin. They've got Arsenal and Liverpool.
I'm not seeing that, Alan.
Somebody made the point. Here it is, Kevin. Jody Tumber Life says, I go on Toppy TV too. To be honest, I like Everton more than Liverpool. I just don't get the hate on Everton. We all have idiots for fans. We have our fair share on social media.
No, they've took it to another level. They've took it to a different level. It's when your first team coach arrives and you've got flares going, you've got fireworks setting off, upsetting the way to like Southampton the other week, whenever it was. That's, yes, I understand why, and they're frustrated with, look, we've all been there for the past 15 years or whatever it was under our previous ownership, but we as a fan group wouldn't do that. We would let the talking do that on the football pitch. That's where it's meant to be done. Yes, we'll be frustrated. Yes, we'll have a protest. Yes, we can do that as a First Amendment right, essentially, here in the United States. You can like a freedom of speech. We can do that. Of course we can. But at the same time, to have flares, create, and I watched it and I thought that's creating a atmosphere where I wouldn't want to play in that as a player or coach in it as a manager or whatever. It's just hostile. It just creates a very hostile environment right from the get-go. And as a player, and you see that, and you see fans talking to the Yerry Mina on the streets outside of Goodison Park, and then not kicking his face in, but it was getting not heated, but you can understand their frustration, and he was man enough to take it and understand it and where they were coming from. But that could have turned ugly in a hurry, and I get where they're coming from, unfortunately. But I've always had a little affinity with Liverpool. I don't know what it is, just that's just me. But I've always decided, Everton they've always been, it's us or them, essentially, in recent years. So why can't it be them this year? And
I can understand that. I think the Liverpool thing, depending on how old you are, Liverpool used to win everything when I was a kid. But Newcastle were never in that league. When I started supporting Newcastle, we were old second division. Liverpool were in the first division, and they were competing for European trophies and winning the league every year. And I think it didn't really matter, for me about Liverpool. So there was no real rivalry there. With Manchester United, the generation of supporters who grew up in the 90s all had Manchester United as a rival and started the dislike, and then there was dislike between the fans. How did it come about? And was it a thing before Pickford? Says Blue Rhythm Boy. I think a lot of it's come from people's experiences at Goodison. I've been to Everton and seen some fairly unsavoury events outside the ground. I haven't seen that at Liverpool. I've seen it on the other side of Stanley Park. I've seen fans punched in the face, and I'm talking about ordinary supporters, not people looking for trouble, punched in the face and assaulted, sliced up. I've seen there's been altercations between their fans and our fans in London. It was a huge event that took place when Newcastle were down playing Spurs, I think it was. Then there was a retaliation at the Black Bull pub in Newcastle. I think there's been a gradual dislike between our supporters, and then I think it spreads. When Newcastle were involved in relegation battles, Everton would get the result and the Gordon between the supporters. And then Pickford just enhances it all. So I don't think there's a real dislike amongst the support. I just think certain parts of our support have got reason not to like Everton. So, and there seems to be this better relationship with Liverpool. It's one of those things. Jody Toombalay says our fans don't take it to another level on social media. Well, yeah, everyone's got nuggets in the fan base, mate. There's nothing we can do about that. Frank Lampard, though, we're getting off the point a little bit. We've made this a Newcastle Everton thing. Just finishing up with you, Darren, on Frank Lampard. I mean, he's going to get well paid, and it's the one job where you get paid. You get well paid for failure, mate.
Yeah, you do. And I'm going to be short and sweet, Steve. Other lads to cover it, really. But he's got two options in Frank Lampard. One, take your hair off, and then if he wants to go back to management, he wanted to take a leaf out of Eddie Howe's podcast. What he did, he want to learn. You want to know what he did wrong. What he failed. Maybe a big list for him. Huge list for him, to be fair. But he wanted to get new ideas and new targets. But I can only say it going back to Championship, League One or League Two management. You should not go back to the Premiership for a while, because it's a hard league to manage in the Premiership. He's been sacked twice now. I think he should only go Championship to learn his trade again. But if he doesn't want to do that, he just gone to BT or Sky's, where he wants to go.
Yeah, okay. Got about 18 minutes left. Get your points in the chat. I've just posted, actually, the link to the 1976 Road to Wembley. It's something you might want to watch between now and tomorrow night. It's Super Matt and Gibbo giving their account of that trip, all the games, basically, and then obviously the semi-final and the final. So it's well worth a watch. Just give it a watch and give it a share. I'm sure you'll enjoy that. Just want to talk about pundits, George. My last topic tonight, and that's we've seen Kieran Dyer making an utter fool of himself.
He is Dyer.
Well, he is, yeah. But I managed to catch up with Match of the Day. I hadn't watched it, so I managed to catch up with it today, and I watched Jermaine Jenas. Now, Jermaine Jenas was asked about Nick Pope. Now, the stats are there for everybody to see. He's broken the clean sheets record.
Yeah,
we've gone 15 games without defeat, and we haven't conceded a goal with Nick Pope and that back four since November in the Premier League. So when Jermaine Jenas is asked, is Nick Pope the best goalkeeper in the Premier League at this moment in time, the answer is simple. It's got three letters in it. It begins with Y, finishes with S, and it's got an E in the middle. Yes. Y had to pause and go, well, no, I think Alisson's probably the better keeper. And and Gary Lineker actually said English keeper as well. So he made it foolproof really for him.
Yeah.
He made it really easy. And then he looked at him quizzically and went, "Oh, English." And I was like, "My God, Jermaine Jenas, Kieran Dyer, Graham Souness, the list is endless. Why did they get these players on and ex-managers on who clearly they get them in? And I mean, Dyer was there to represent Newcastle. But why did they get these players on and ex-managers on who don't like Newcastle?
Well, there's a common denominator, isn't it? They failed at Newcastle. All three of them failed miserably. Jenas could have been a hero at Newcastle and could have played for England for a lot longer than he did if he'd just done what he was told to do. But no, he was
good. Fish ball, George.
Yeah, he was gonna go and do it better elsewhere. Well, fine, that's up to him. But he didn't. He couldn't cut the ice here. Souness is the same. I was delighted when he was appointed, I've got to say, because one thing we needed was somebody to come in and put a bit of discipline in the club. And with his background of winning things, I thought, well, this is a good appointment. Well, it turned out to be a disaster because he actually pandered to the idiots. You know, he should have sacked Dyer and Bowyer when they had the fight on the field, and he didn't. He let them stay in the club, and that festered on, and then ended up by alienating the fans almost entirely. And Dyer got a free ride for so long because of his shin splints, sitting on the physio's bench for nearly a year, and then culminated in refusing to play for Bobby Robson. Well, the day he did that, he should have gone. That should have been the end of him at Newcastle United. So there's my common denominator with them three, is that they all failed badly at Newcastle and could have been heroes. The Jimmy and Janice, I watched the thing on Match the Day as well. The startling thing for me is that somebody sitting next to him, Danny Murphy, who's usually quite harsh on us, said great things about us. They don't need to do anything. What they're doing's working. Keep doing it and it'll get better. That's what Danny Murphy said. Janice couldn't even join in. The only one that joined in was Lineker, but not Jimmy and Janice. No, it seems as though they choke on saying something good about Newcastle United. Well, you're going to choke a lot harder, I think, in the next couple of years, because you're going to have to sit on there and soak up all the pressure that you'll get from Newcastle fans for you saying all the things you did. The other afternoon on Sky Sports, Jeff Stelling said to the panelists, and it was Boyd, Merson, and the coloured lad that used to play for
Clinton Morrison.
Clinton Morrison played for Millwall. He asked them, is Nick Pope in the top 10 goalkeepers in the world? And no. But they couldn't find five above him. They couldn't find another five to say they were better than Nick Pope. And I think, well, you're supposed to be on there as experts, pundits, and you can't even put names to goalkeepers. And they kept coming up with the foreign goalkeepers as well. But even then, they couldn't find five better than Nick Pope. So, it seems to be good in their terms to be down on Newcastle at the moment because of where we are. Absolutely awful. And I said to you the other night, Steve, about Patrick Vieira. I great admirer of Patrick Vieira until after our match the other night when he said, well, that's what happens when you throw millions at it. Well, all right, Patrick, why is it if we threw millions, what about the millions you thrown? Because when they kicked off on the other night against us, their team was worth about 50 or 60 million more than our team. And he's telling us we spent millions. No, Patrick, goodbye. Don't want to know you anymore. So there you are. That's it in a nutshell.
Well, George, getting on the punditry, lads, I don't know if you watch Sky again, like I did. Paul Merson, found it unbelievable that we sold Chris Wood. Now, that was a deal we could not turn down, lads. I know Stevie's your favourite striker of all time. But,
I believe Steve was there drinking. I think Steve was very upset. He was drinking a pint, very crying.
This is actually vodka, not water.
I mean, Rovers just found the ball on Mars, Steve, from the Sheffield Wednesday game. Basically, he turned around. I can't believe they sold Chris Wood. Now, if you work it out, lads, I don't know what your feelings are about Gordon. There's very mixed opinions about Gordon from Everton coming, Anthony Gordon. But if you work it out, lads, simple mathematics, say we bid 30 million, he comes for 30 million. We get 20 million for Wood. He's only cost with 10 million. They're working really well. If you work the mathematics out, loan fee, £15 million for us. That's 20 million. Yes, he costs with 25, and you could see it 15 million. But if we get Anthony for Gordon for 30 million, it's only cost, and he's 21. He's raw. He's playing in a rubbish side. His confidence must be rock bottom. And if you're getting abuse off your own fans, surely you want to get out of the place. And I know a lot of lads said he's had a rotten season. Well, so do many teams, players who are getting relegated have a rotten season. He's 21. If he was 26, 27, I would have totally agree with a lot of fans who are saying, not for me, Anthony Gordon's not for me. He's only 21, lads. He's still got a lot of time. If I can put up with Sean Amiobi for 10 years and Titus Bramble, I'm sure I can put up with Anthony for a couple of years, 2 or 3 years.
For
So
sure.
the punditry is poor at times. It really is. And Paul Merson for saying that. Yes, you could tell by Eddie Howe's features that he was taken aback that the Wood had been sold so quickly. But it was a deal that came out the blue. And fast forward a year, if we kept Chris Wood, would we have got 15 million next year when he had 6 months left on his contract? No, we wouldn't, lads. I think it's great business. Absolutely.
Also, you need to remember is that Ashworth and Eddie Howe as well are keen to help players, that look after players. What a good deal that was for Chris Wood. At 31, he gets a handout, he gets a place in that team straight away, and he's not going to get many games with us. And he's come to us for a year to do what Eddie Howe wanted him to do, and that was successful. We stayed up. It's going to cost for 5 million.
What they missed out though, he wanted to go though.
Yes, that's money.
That's Paul Merson. He said, "Oh, we're settling." No, he wanted to go because he wanted regular first team football. Right. At Newcastle, he knows he's not getting it. Unfortunately, he's got more chance of getting first team football. And there was all these punditries like ex-Newcastle United players because they failed. Graham's Jonas failed, Keane Dyer failed, Jermaine James failed. They're not well liked down here. But when you see Les Ferdinand, Shea Gimmon, you don't see them criticise Newcastle. They praise us. So that's the trouble. They're getting the people who hate Newcastle. They don't get the people who like Newcastle every time.
Yeah. And look, BT, I'm seeing your comment in the chat about George saying that Kieran Dyer came across drunk and that apparently he has some kind of liver condition. George didn't mean any malice by it. I can assure you of that. And you know, ultimately, if he has got some kind of liver complaint, then you know, obviously we'll wish him well. And I've also seen a point by somebody else in the chat saying that he was on a podcast, and here it is, Blue Rhythm Boy says, watch Dyer on True Geordie's podcast. He speaks well about our fans and how they treated him. Also admits he was wrong with the Sir Bobby Robson situation. He just doesn't articulate these points well, in my opinion. And that's fair enough. But I will stand with my opinion. And this is that he is trying to carve a career in the media. No one's got an issue with that. But the habits that people seem to pick up now are, and you've seen it with Jason Cundy, there's one in particular, Simon Jordan, another one, and I know I'm picking on a particular sports channel here, but there's two that I've just picked out of fresh air, right, who aren't Newcastle United players and have nothing to do with Newcastle United per se, but they are two people who know how valuable a clickbait is. And I genuinely think that what Kieran Dyer is trying to do is get a clickbait, a soundbite, something that's going to be controversial. And it succeeded because I'm talking about it tonight because I'm annoyed about it. I'm annoyed about what Jermaine Genesis said. I'm annoyed about what Kieran Dyer said. I think they should have some loyalty. We stood by Kieran Dyer in particular for 8 years. The guy embarrassed himself and embarrassed our football club by having a punch-up with Lee Bowyer. Now, it takes two to tango. I'll never forgive him for that. And I genuinely, I've got personal opinions of Kieran Dyer, which I won't share on the show. But remember, I worked as a doorman in Newcastle City Centre. I saw how that kid behaved in Newcastle City Centre, and I'm not being a liar here when I say he didn't do the club any favours, and he didn't do himself any favours. I won't share those stories.
If people are offended about my commentary,
George, no way, you said nothing wrong.
No,
you said,
don't worry about but just a minute. If the comment is that it sounded like he was drunk and that upsets people, then I apologise that. But I remember the same Kieran Dyer wrapping his bloody new Ferrari round the end of the high level bridge, and Graham Soon was having to go to the Market Street police station to get him out. Now that's fact. That's not me making insinuations. But the trouble is that the continual drip of misinformation and nastiness towards this club doesn't help the fact what he says elsewhere on podcasts. I'm sorry if I didn't see that, but what he's doing now is poison. It's poison.
Yeah,
So,
Blue Rhythm Boy,
if
we
he,
could go. Blue Rhythm Boy,
Yeah.
we could go around in circles. He says, "Is it fair to judge him?" We're not judging him on that. I'm judging him what he
No,
said on TV
no.
this week. I'm mentioning that because
Yeah.
ultimately, you know, the guy hasn't changed. The guy is still the same. The guy might have changed now. You know, if he's got an illness, he certainly will have changed his drinking habits, I would have imagined. But ultimately, from my perspective, I don't hold any malice against him. I hope he gets well, etc. But what I will say, Blue Rhythm Boy, is that, you know, why these people are employing him to talk about Newcastle United when he hasn't really got a good word to say, apart from on the True Geordie podcast, which has got nothing to do with football, by the way. I just don't understand. But we'll move on, Vince. I just want to come to you. I mean, pundits, it's something which we don't really speak about it on here, but it is frustrating. And I think we've just had a bad run in the last few weeks. Soonest he'll be talking about Saudi money, and the next time he's on there, and this is all down to Saudi money. We've spent nothing yet, Graham. You know where I'm coming from, Vince. I think sometimes we've got to vent our spleen on this.
No, definitely, and it does annoy you. It does annoy you. You're sitting there. We love our club. Like I said, we totally love it, and that. And we've seen these players play for the team and all that, and we'll back them. I'll back anyone who puts the black and white on. Love them, totally support them. And then you see them turn around and doing this and that, and you just think, you know what they're doing. Like you say, Steve, they're getting sound bites because they want to, like everyone else. But I love the fact. But I love it when Shea Given's on. Shea Given's like a fan. The way he loves winning stuff like that, get players like that on, and they're just like they're ignoring all of this crap. They see it, and you can see it in them that how much we love. Alex is the only one of us like that is actually Jeff Stelling, because he's another one that backs with and stuff like that.
I'm not being funny, but Steve Watson sitting on his backside doing nothing. They send Steve Howie out to cover Hull versus Barnsley or whatever. He could come and do it. They've got Shola Ramiobi who gets picked up once in a blue moon. There's three perfect ambassadors that I can think of. Clarkey and Watto are doing nothing at the minute. Get them on.
Yeah.
They've had Rob Lee in once in a blue moon. Get Rob Lee in. Get Darren Peacock in. Get Steve Fox in. Anyone from the entertainers era, because it's a similar kind of time for Newcastle.
Definitely. I mean, Warren Barton, like you see mainly in America, but he's brilliant for like being brilliant ambassador all the time for and all that. Really bigs you up all the time and all that. It's been great. Yeah, you're totally right. Players like that, but that's not what they want. They want like you say, it's like media. They just want the negative hit somewhere.
Yeah, they do. Go on, Kev. You were going to say something, mate, before I go.
Yeah, over this past weekend, what the Premier League do over here in the United States with NBC Sports Network, which is our main broadcaster like Sky Sports, they do fan fests every year or twice a year across the country. And we had Steve Harper, Shea Given, Alan Shearer on the same stage. I mean, you know what I mean? So there's going to be another bias essentially, because we get the same bias. I get the same bias as Sky Sports portray over in England. But it's a little different based on, we've got Robbie Mustoe, an ex-Middlesbrough player. We've got Robbie Earle, who, not the highlights of their career playing at top clubs, but it's a little tapered. But at the same time, it was nice just to see, and I sent Steve a picture of you on Twitter yesterday with Alan Shearer on there working from the Premier League perspective, but he was all championing Newcastle United. Same with Shea Given had a Newcastle United Castile polo shirt on. Same with Steve Harper, the academy manager. And they've done some stuff with the fans from like the Florida fans section. I'm part of Tsunami Atlanta here where I live. So it was just nice to see somebody different and a different perspective. And again, with the Kieran Dyer thing, I'll jump in. It's just like we said yesterday, it's just lazy. It's just genuine laziness. It's getting a quick, we would call it getting a quick dollar in your back pocket. Thanks very much. Coming on in and saying, just blurting out literal crap from what he was saying, because he was a decent footballer, to be fair. He was just and going with what Steve, you were saying, you worked on the doors. Well, I worked in the stadium and know what went on within that stadium at that time. Yeah. Because I worked in there. My mate used to work on the buses when he served food for them, so he knew what went on. But I know what went on. Everybody knew what went on. But at the same time, that's I'm not going to say name names and the gambling ethics, what went on the Sooners and this and that, and the culture, what was portrayed in that time. Those who know. So,
different time, different era, and
of course it is. Yeah, it is what it was.
I've never sold a story and never told a tale on anything that I've seen, and I would never do that. But ultimately,
we'd be millionaires, mate, if we did.
We would be, yeah, 100%. Barry, what's your take on this? We're coming towards the end of the show. Just want to find out yours and Darren's views on this.
Totally agree with the guys about Janus. Dye is just a mini me of them anyway. I mean, my thing with Janus is he's touted to take over from Lineker on Match of the Day. And if that happens, then that's the last time I watch Match of the Day because I can't stand the guy. I think he just talks absolute rubbish. Again, what the guy said, was it the Amazon Prime show of the match that Gibbon was on? He was actually on pitch side and he did his punditry. Absolutely amazing. The guy's very articulate. He wasn't totally Newcastle. He sold a lot of good stuff about the club, but he certainly wasn't totally against the opposition, so I was well impressed with him. Just totally agree with you guys. There's loads. Steve, you mentioned Rob Lee, tremendous to listen to. John Beresford. There's so many names that these so-called TV companies could pick instead of picking somebody who's going to say something that's like shock effect. It's exactly what you said. It's soon as they know they're going to get him kicking off about something, and the other guys, George will know God knows how many players who could have come on and articulate. When was the last time I saw Superman being invited into one of these programs?
Great shout.
Yeah.
He can't break his contract. He can't break his contract in UFC matters. I'm afraid. It's as watertight as all your contracts.
You could blow him out every couple of games. But yeah, totally agree with the rest of the guys.
Darren, I'll give you the last thing on this. We'll park it for another 12 months and then we'll have another rant next year.
Again, I kind of agree with the lad. And then first of all, I've got to say George got nothing to apologise for. It's a freedom of speech. He said nothing wrong. His own opinion. But to be honest, I think we all agree what George says. I think he just doesn't like Newcastle and he wants to say a negative thing to get people attention. But we all know he's wrong. We know better. We all know what he's like, what he's done in Newcastle in the past. We all know what he's done, but haven't said anything. But ignore the little man and forget about him. Let's move on with what you have done. Onwards and upwards to Newcastle.
Great point. Let's get a prediction, and I'm going to go 1-0 to Newcastle. George, what about you tomorrow night?
2-0.
2-0. Alan?
2-1.
2-1. And you, Vince?
2-0.
2-0. Barry?
2-0.
Kev?
Stu Pemmon.
3-1. Darren?
3-1.
1-0.
Oh.
Yeah, that'll do. We're all very positive, though. That's good. I am back tomorrow morning, 11 o'clock, doing the transfer show with Ross Gregory from the Evening Chronicle. I am not going to Southampton tomorrow night. Reason being, I hate the place. I can't stand the trip. And I've never seen a win there. So one of my friends is going on my ticket, and I wish him all the best. He came to pick it up.
Now, Steve, you better not get points for that.
He's looking very happy. He's looking very happy as he came to pick that ticket up today, though. So good luck to him. Enjoy it, mate. And I am probably going to do a match day live tomorrow night. So join us tomorrow.
I'm in tomorrow.
I'm going to sit here.
I'll join in. I might be a little bit louder than I was yesterday.
I'll be in next week. I'm going to sit and watch. Yeah, well, that's great. Well, I'll send you the link, lads. We're going to be on. We're going to enjoy that first leg of the semi-final together. So we'll be a watch-along, Les, as you're asking.
I'll be behind the sofa, Steve.
I bet you will.
Cringing.
Thanks for joining us tonight. Thanks to all.
I'll look through my fingers, Alan.
Just take off your glasses.
Sorry. Actually, you lads probably don't know, but I'm blind at the minute, so the glasses are pretty useless. So, seriously, I had an operation that went wrong, and so I can't actually see at the moment. So it's a struggle watching anything. All I can see is dots.
Black and white, George. That's all I can.
Yeah. Well, this year will be my 76th year of going to St James's Park.
Bloody hell.
First went in 1945.
Fantastic. Well, we'll see you tomorrow night, George. Everybody have a good night. Go and enjoy.
If I'm invited, I would.
Of course, you've got to. Let's see George knows it.
Take care then. See you tomorrow night.
Bye.
Bye.
everyone.
A big thank you to all our sponsors, as always. Thanks to Skips and Bins, telephone 0800 25 45 25 3, email inquiries at skipsandbins.com, and our website skipsandbins.com. Easy, contract free, and pay as you go waste collection. Thanks to Garden of Healing Dispensaries, CBD hemp and cannabinoid specialists. You can find them at thegohd.com. Thanks to Mr. Vicky's sauces, which are handmade in Cumbria, and you can find them at mrvickies.co.uk. If you want to make an order, give them a call on 01768 210 102 or email info@mrvickies.co.uk. Thanks to Blowhole Breweries, you can get a selection of beers, and the cans are in the design of the old Newcastle United entertainers strips. Blowholebrewery.co.uk. Thanks to Melly's Carpets and Beds, laying our reputation one recommendation at a time. The best quality around at the cheapest prices. Melly's Beds and Carpets.co.uk. Email sales@mellysbedsandcarpets.co.uk or give Melly a call on 01670 632 216. And thanks to United Group Travel Limited, UK Coach Holidays in Morpeth, 01670 362 460 or mobile 07957 141 654. Graham, your driver, Beverly answering your calls and looking after you on your tour. Some great deals coming up there. Get yourself onto the website to check them out. Thanks also to Media Arts, who do all of our videos and help us with the technological side of things. And thanks to qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wallsend, Newcastle, and the guys who run our website, NUFCmatters.com. If you want to subscribe to the channel, then hit the subscribe button below. Hit the thumb up, which is the like button, which does us a big favour with the algorithm. And click share. Share it to Newcastle United Facebook groups or Twitter accounts or your own social media to help our community grow. And if you want to join the channel, hit the join button. And for as little as $1.99 a month, you can get some members-only videos and chances to win some fantastic prizes. We're also available as a podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, and the rest. Don't forget as well that we do events through NUFC Matters. And this one is the next event coming up, Friday the 24th of February, an evening with Newcastle United legend Steve Howie. Friday the 24th of February, Tyneside Irish Centre, and tickets are available at £50 from newcastlelegends.com. If you also go onto Voucher and search for the event, you can pick up a bargain on there. Don't forget, we also support the food bank on this channel. www.nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk is where you can find the Matchday Bucket. You can make a virtual donation to the Matchday Bucket 365 days of the year to keep helping the food bank in Newcastle.